Welcome back to Show Mode, my pop-up podcast series. Pop-up podcast, lots of purrs in there and a little bit of a mouthful, not gonna lie. Welcome to Show Mode, everyone. My next guest knows how to put the in presenting. Yes, I just did that. Her name is Jennifer Natale, and she is such a wonderful human, a good friend, and she also helps presenters design and deliver powerful, engaging presentations so they can connect, inspire, and motivate their audience. Now, you're probably wondering, what the heck does presenting have to do with studio ownership / concert and show season? What has it got to do with being in show mode? Let me tell you that the dreaded presentation on stage that you do as a studio owner at your concert, at your show, is actually more than just a formality. Okay, it's more than a formality. And I want you to tap into this as an opportunity. And there's a way to do that so that it's not a snore fest that you're trying to rush through or you try to avoid. This is actually your moment as the leader of your business to shine. And there are ways to not only engage your audience and make an impact. This is the warmest audience you're going to have all year. Okay, let's think about that. But it's also an opportunity to have a call to action to do so much more. But let's talk about what makes an interesting presentation, how we can overcome the fear associated to presenting on stage, and, some tricks and tips that Jen is going to share with us. Now, I've met Jen through multiple business networking events, including her business network, which is Fierce Women. And I've loved jumping into that and being a part of her community there. She's also in my book club. We're in an accountability group together. Jen's a good time. She's a really beautiful human, and she's got so much experience, so much. I think she's done something like 4,000 presentations or something crazy. But anyway, I'll leave it for her to talk about. Let's dive into this episode. And if you think you don't need to, upskill on your presentation skills, or if you don't need to present at all, I urge you to listen to this episode. Okay, I urge you to listen and just really consider the power of a powerful presentation. Okay, remember, we're here to connect, inspire, and motivate your customers. Here we go. Are you in show mode right now? Performing arts and dance studio owners, if you are feeling consumed with concert prep or about to gear up for showtime, you have come to the right place. Welcome to Show Mode, my exclusive pop-up podcast series here on Studio Biz and all that jazz, where we cover the critical steps to nailing your next show season. I'm your host and mentor, Josephine Lancuba. Join me and my expert guests for 5 bonus episodes as we get ready for show mode. Now, before we jump into today's bonus episode, I want to share with you Show Mode, which is my 3-day free coaching event. This is happening online, and it's designed to help you thrive this upcoming show season while keeping your cool. It's happening this September, so register now. This is truly the critical time to get organized for a successful and unforgettable show season. So if you want to feel organized, stress-free, and calm, then register. Head to josephinelancuba.com/show mode, or just jump on the link in the show notes. See you there. Okay, welcome to Show Mode, everyone, my exclusive pop-up series here on Studio Biz and all that jazz, where we talk about everything concert preparation and showtime, because we know here in Australia and for many countries around the world, we know that right now is that critical time of planning and preparation so that we can nail our upcoming show season. So we have a very special guest today here celebrating this exclusive series, and that is Jennifer Natale. Yay! Now, Jennifer is an expert in the game of speaking. She's going to talk all about that. Now, for everyone listening, you're probably wondering, what the heck does speaking have to do with being a studio owner? And we're going to talk about that because production time, there's an opportunity where you go on and you do the director's speech. We're going to tap into that moment and how you can improve it, leverage from it, and more. So welcome to the show, Jen.
you. Thanks, Joe. I'm so glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Now, I wanted to let everyone know what you do. So would you explain to our listeners a little bit about what it is that you do in the world?
Sure. Well, I help female entrepreneurs with their leveling up their presentation skills. So whether they're new at presenting or whether they've been presenting for a really long time, we can always use another eye on how we present and find little ways to just level up every single time. And
Yeah.
so that's what I do. I coach women in that space.
And it's interesting because when people think of presenting, typically they'll think of, your typical situation where, corporate presenting, etc. But do you find that having presentation skills is a transferable skill regardless of industry?
For sure, absolutely. And in actual fact, speaking itself is only one part of a presentation. So,
Mm,
you know, before there's a whole lot of stuff that happens before you're standing on the stage. And that's where I come in. So we're
yeah.
talking strategy, we're talking understanding your audience, we're talking, like how you formulate and design your presentation and your speaking. Part of it is that's only one little part.
And I think what I find as a performing arts biz coach and working with studio owners frequently is that when it comes to showtime and we're in show mode, and often that speech that the director makes on stage is such a moment that I think we were just saying this before actually we hit record. We were
Yeah.
saying how it can be treated as a formality rather than an opportunity. And so
Yes.
we're going to talk about that today because I think that there's power in that moment. But let's start talking about the confidence side first. Now, regardless of my industry, even though we're in the performing arts, a lot of studio owners dread the speech. Some even contemplate, should I do it? I've heard that in some of those, Facebook industry groups, like, oh, do we have to do speech? So boring for the audience. That's the other thing. Oh, it's a snore fest. I don't want to bore the audience if I get up on stage. Is that wasting the audience's time? What's your take on that? And how can we overcome those challenges of, firstly, I'm really nervous and I'm not sure if I want to do this. And then secondly, it's boring for the audience, so why even bother?
Okay. So, firstly, I always tell people you actually don't need confidence to get up there. You need courage. And we can all find the courage within. And our confidence just builds the more often we do something, the more we practice, then we become a little bit more comfortable. But in order to be comfortable, we need to understand why we're there and be prepared. So we're prepared and we practice. And that little bit of confidence will start to develop.
I like that. We don't need to be confident. We need to have courage.
That's correct.
How, and this is just a life lesson, y'all, everybody listening now, because I like that. I like that a lot. Okay, so let's talk about courage. How, and just because you've got to talk about your background in relation to the work that you do with individuals. And I think this is important for the credibility here because you know what you're talking about when it comes to the psyche of human behavior. So let's just tap into that for a split second.
Yeah, so I have spent 25 years in the mental health sector. So I have walked alongside my clients who have been people actually with some of the most severe psychiatric illness. And I have supported them to be able to achieve the goals that they wanted, to live the life that they wanted, to manage their mental health condition and live independently in the community and really be happy.
Yeah.
Like that's what we all want as human beings, right?
Yeah, totally. So, when you talk to this, I wanted everyone to know that you actually really do have those credibility points on the board because I think from a psychological point of view, when we talk about courage versus confidence, I'm really interested in that. So talk us through what
Yeah.
you think that means when you say courage, and how does someone become courageous?
Yeah, well, because I think that when we think about confidence, we think we already have to have it
Mm.
in order to do what we want to do. It's like, I hear this a lot. It's like, oh, I'm not really confident in that space. I don't have the confidence to speak publicly. I don't have the confidence to, like put myself out there. And so that is a real block for people, Joe. And the way to get over that is to be thinking to ourselves, okay, I need only 5 minutes of courage and take the leap. So it's something that we can find within ourselves. And often, and just to add to the credibility, I have done in the 25 years, I have done over 4,000 presentations to diverse audiences, from board reports and board presentations through to a wide variety of live on, in front of people. I was a teacher and a trainer to groups of students, and now in the online space. So I kind of know what I'm talking about when it comes to courage. And actually, I was a very shy child. So I'm not, my extrovert introvert is almost 50-50.
That's
And
interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
you don't need to have that bold outward personality to be able to find the courage within. So before I present, I take a moment and I kind of quieten my mind, and I take a breath, and I think about, I visualize how I want the presentation to go.
Let's talk about that, because like I said earlier in the piece, there's an opportunity here that people are not tapping into. So the formality of it can be boring, right? If you just go up and you go, thank you so much all for being here. Now let us do the awards. My name is XYZ. I am the director of 20 years. Boring, Snorfest.
Yeah.
So what can we do, first of all, before we step into the opportunity of that moment? What can we do to create a presentation on stage to our audience, who are essentially typically in a studio environment, the friends and family members and loved ones of those coming to see the performers on stage? There can be hundreds of people in the audience. We've got studios that will pack a house out of 1,000 people. So it's quite the opportunity. Sometimes smaller audiences, you might have an auditorium of 100 people, 50 people, but usually we're talking in the hundreds, if not more, multiple shows, sometimes thousands of guests over a show week. So what can we do to change that mindset around that? And what can we actually tweak in our presentation to make it more interesting and engaging for the audience?
So it may seem counterintuitive, Joe, but getting the audience involved is actually one of the best ways to do it. And asking questions, so what do we want our audience to feel in that moment? We certainly don't want them to feel bored. We want them to feel engaged. We want them to feel like they're in the right place. So we want to ask them questions, and questions can be qualifying questions. So yes or no, raise your left hand if it's a no, raise your right hand if it's a yes, and then ask some questions. Or it can be opportunity questions. So where does the person who's presenting, what do they want from the audience in that moment? What opportunity can they take in this moment from all of these hundreds of people standing in front of them? Is it something to do with next year's numbers? Like, do we want more people coming to our studios? Do we want more people What would be an example, Joe, of how someone can in your industry take the opportunity?
Well, I think that the opportunity lies in talking about what's coming up.
Yeah.
And getting people engaged in that. So essentially like a call to action. So for example, it's the end of year. If you have something that you want to share it and share it then. You don't have to wait for the email. Like you're in front of them,
Yes.
like, oh, by the way, enrollments are open. And I know, and it's not a sale. See, this is where you have to change the way you present it, I think.
Yes.
So it's not like you're going, oh, and everyone, enrollments are open now. It's only $79, like $79 if you register now and you get a free t-shirt. Like, no, that's not what we're saying. But I think let the people know. So what's a creative way, I suppose, in how we can use that moment to promote whatever's coming up next and get them engaged? I think I like the idea of getting that interactive piece, like asking questions, even just simple, like, is everyone, like, and I've done this before, is everyone out there having a good time tonight? And then there's crickets. Excuse me, I can't hear you. Is everyone having a good time tonight? Let me hear you cheer. Ooh,
Yes.
okay, great. Let's get the energy going. I think as well, injecting some, I mean, this is my personality type. I like to inject a little bit of humor. Like I remember one year we did Moana, the musical, and the roof was leaking on stage and we had to mop in between every number. It was a total nightmare because there was this massive storm. And I made a joke about how, we're creating an authentic real life experience and we're in the ocean right now, and everyone just started laughing, but that light them up, I think,
Yes.
like inject the humor. But yeah, those call to actions, what can we do in a creative sense, do you think, that's not, because people feel salesy. So how do we get people on board with our call to action without it being salesy?
So then in this instance, you would use stories. So you would potentially talk about a highlight for, a student that just want to share with you this wonderful opportunity that one of our students has had this year, and talk about that story. And then you can kind of lead into whether your tickets are open or moving into what you want to introduce for next year.
Yeah. So that injection of story is a good idea. So essentially like a case study. So like choosing someone that you can talk about. I don't mind that. That's a good idea, something I haven't considered before. So for example, if you're saying, hey, we've expanded our acrobatics program next year and places are limited, instead of just jumping in straight there, go, now I just want to chat about Johnny. He's been an acrobatics student of ours for the last 5 years. When he first came to us, he was really uncertain, and now he's thriving. And we received an email from his mum last week saying that, he finds acrobatics to be his safe place and this is his home. And we love that that's been the result for little Johnny. We're now extending that program, everyone, so that you can have that same experience. So make sure before you leave tonight, we've got some QR codes out in the foyer. Make sure you scan them and book in. Thanks, everyone, for coming. It doesn't have to be sleazy. It can just be that little thing. I love that storytelling thing as well. I think that's so powerful. And
so powerful, Joe. When you are able to bring people along for a journey, it doesn't even have to be long. It's a couple of minutes, but your stories are very engaging, and people can imagine themselves, like they can imagine themselves in Johnny's transformation, or they can imagine their own kids in Johnny's transformation. So that's what you want to share, the transformation journey.
Yes. Okay. All right, before we wrap today, because this is a pop-up series, we're here short and fast here on Show Mode, our exclusive little pop-up podcast in Studio Biz and all that jazz. Okay, let's get these key points. So we know that if you have an opportunity to stand in front of a warm audience, remember, this is the highlight of the year. They're loving you right now. This is it. This is your moment, not only to share what's coming, and it's not just a call to action, to show your authority as the leader of this business, to show that you care, to show that you're present. Yeah. Like show up, be on stage, right? Show courage and show up for your audience.
Show courage, be authentic, inject a little bit of personality, understand your audience. And in this case, the audience is warm. Like if you're presenting, you already know what this audience wants and needs. So that is a superpower that you can leverage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, it's an opportunity to build your own personal brand within the business and that authority. Do you have any quick takeaways on personal branding and the power of that within your business? Because sometimes people really lean on the name and the logo and forget themselves within it.
I think with personal branding, it really is about authenticity. I think if you're for just really showing who you are, because that naturally attracts the tribe that you want to be in your inner circle. So with personal branding, be as authentic as you possibly can, and it'll attract the people who are meant to be in your world.
Yeah. And don't forget, everyone, the power of storytelling in your presentation will make it memorable. People will not remember the details of, if you say, I have been the studio owner of 20 years, that's not what they're going to remember. That's great, but they're not going to remember that. They're going to remember that story about little Johnny, who was so shy when he first started, and now he's like in Cirque du Soleil. You know what I mean? Right? And he doesn't have to be there. He could have just been the captain of his school, like he's gone from not wanting to show up to now being so confident and being the captain of his school because of the results through and that transformation through his programming, through what you guys do, right? So share it, share the stories. And I always use Johnny as an example, and I don't know why. I almost called my son Johnny. And also I think I'm traumatized from when my kids were young. They used to sing that nursery rhyme, that YouTube thing. Johnny, Johnny, yes, Papa, eating something, no, Papa, telling lies, no, Papa. Oh my God, Johnny, shut up, Johnny.
So I think another little takeaway too is that whole thing about confidence versus courage, like to continue to teach that on to the kids and your students. It's like, you don't need to be confident. Have you got 5 minutes of courage in you right now? Let's try this, and just kind of teach that forward.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest takeaway of today. I love that so much. I'm actually going to change the language I use in my agency, because I say that to parents like, oh, do they need experience to be in my talent? I'm like, they just need a little bit of confidence in it. But no, they just need courage, right? That's what they need. All right. Thank you so much. If anyone wants to find you, where can they find you online and come along for your journey?
For sure. Instagram and TikTok, Jennifer Natale, Fierce Women Connect, and my website, jennifernatale.com.au. So I've got some live training this week on how to design and deliver your powerful presentation. So if anyone is interested in that.
Yeah, we'll make sure we pop a link in the show notes for you as well. And everyone, show mode we've got coming up as well, which is 3 days of free coaching with me, where we talk everything concert preparation to get you ready for showtime. Yeah, we want to make sure that you're really nailing this concert season with ease, confidence, calm, and a strategy in place. So I'll pop a link in the show notes for that as well. It's josephinelancuba.com/show mode. Thanks, Jennifer, for being on the show. Really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Jo.
Thanks for listening to my pop-up series, Show Mode. Now, don't forget, studio owners, to register now for my free online concert prep coaching experience to get the support you need for this upcoming show season. Head to josephinelancuba.com/show mode or head to the link in the show notes now to register. Thanks again and see you there.